Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, April 18th, Gilbert Town Council meeting. Trying to get started right on time this evening because we have a lot ahead of us on our agenda. I will call this meeting to order, and I will ask everyone to please turn off or silence your cell phones and devices. That's everyone, please, in the room? Everyone, please, in the room? We will start with a presentation of Student Citizen of the Month Award presented by our Vice Mayor. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I am Vice Mayor Kathy Tilkey, and it is my pleasure to announce the names of the Gilbert Student Citizens of the Month. The recipients were nominated by their teachers and principals for demonstrating good citizenship and character. We appreciate the opportunity to not only recognize these hardworking students, but to also thank all the teachers and school administrators in the community. We appreciate all your efforts to educate and influence our young residents. Our schools are some of the Gilbert's greatest assets. At this time, we are going to begin our Student Citizen of the Month presentation. Please enjoy. For those of you who are receiving an award tonight, a certificate and packet will be delivered to your school. We'll begin with our elementary schools. Hold on, I gotta get my little cheat sheet. Here we go. All right. Ashland Ranch Elementary, Xander Mandaza. Bridges Elementary, Jared Garrett. Burke Elementary, Andrea Garcia. Carroll Ray Ranch Elementary, Sally Zhu. Chaparral Elementary, Kendall Zerlini. Charlotte Patterson Elementary, Emmeline Ibarra. Enterprise School, Aiden Vega. Gateway Point Elementary, Macy Litz. Highland Park Elementary, Chase Olson. Higley Traditional Academy, James Bradley. Islands Elementary, McKenna Baxter. Mesquite Elementary, Isaiah Edwards Monesteem. Neely Traditional Academy, Julian Gonzalez. Oak Tree Elementary, Andres McCrae Thompson. Patterson Elementary, Maverick McKinley. Pioneer Elementary, Mario Madrill. Riggs Elementary, Elizabeth Thompson. Santan Elementary, Jace Tardio. Settlers Point Elementary, Yuki Nugent. Spectrum Elementary, Parker Mason. Town Meadows Elementary, Zamia Triolu. Val Vista Lakes Elementary, Grayson Broderick. Weinberg Gifted Academy, Alicia Ng. Now we will honor our junior high and high school students. American Leadership Academy, Sophie Tenica Contreras. Campo Verde High School, Quincy Saunders. Canyon Valley High School, Andrew Daniels. Canyon Valley Junior High, Christian Denick. Cooley Middle School, Atamaya Campos. Gilbert Classical Academy, Benson Gailey. Gilbert High School, Jasmine Hernandez. Higley High School, Carson Wingert. Leading Edge Early College, Logan Ziegler. Mesquite High School, Michael Story. Mesquite Junior High, Hunter Tui. South Valley Junior High, Mia Ikeda. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I know that's not easy. I think names get harder all the time. And when we did student awards here in the council chambers, the kids were always great to tell us what we were saying wrong so that we could correct ourselves. But without them here in the chamber, we don't have that benefit. So we just do the best that we can, and we appreciate you handling that. Next on our agenda this evening, we have the invocation. and that will be led by Pastor Michael Heeden of Christ Greenfield Lutheran Church. Did I say that correctly? Hayden. I debated. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor, for being here. Just push the button so that the mic lights up. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the honor of being here. And for the invocation, I invite everybody to pray with me. Oh God, in this invocation, we do invite you to come and fill this space with your presence, with your love. Let it rule and reign. And we're so grateful that you set up governments and authorities and leaders. And thank you for the leaders here in this room. We do pray that you fill them with your wisdom so that they may lead us in peace and justice and collaboration and unity so that everyone here in this great place of Gilbert may thrive. And we ask this in the precious name of your Son, Jesus, the crucified and risen one. Amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor, for joining us this evening. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Mayor Tilke. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I would please ask Town Clerk Herrera to conduct the roll call.
Mayor Bridget Peterson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Kathy Tilke.
here.
Councilmember Scott Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Chuck Bongiovanni.
Here.
Councilmember Bobby Buckley.
Here.
Councilmember Jan Kaprowski.
Here.
And Councilmember Jim Torgerson.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Town Clerk Herrera. The first item on our agenda this evening is the recognition of Gilbert's MVP volunteer recipients, and I will be headed down to the floor. Where's Melanie? Oh, I didn't even see you sitting there, Melanie Dykstra. I will stand on this side of the podium because short girls and podiums don't really go well together. I look like a floating head, typically. So thank you for joining us this evening. It is our opportunity to recognize our volunteers in the community, and we're doing something new this year with an MVP recognition. Do we have okay. So Gilbert has incredible volunteers serving across the community from town departments, nonprofits, businesses, faith organizations, schools, and more. Volunteers come together day after day to make amazing things happen to support our community. These volunteers help exemplify our Gilbert values of driven, kind, humble, and bold, and we want to recognize them and their contributions to our town. Tonight, we will recognize the finalists and announce the award winners of our first annual Gilbert Community Volunteer MVP program. It's your turn later. That's Presley. He's getting a proclamation later. The first value is bold, with our nominees being recognized for their innovation, big ideas, and making a significant impact. And the finalists are, and if I could ask you to come join me down here as I call your names, Gary Miller. Gary's not able to be with us this evening. He's off volunteering. Or is this Gary? Are you here? Oh, okay. Okay. But a representative from the organization is here and with us to accept the nomination. Gary is known as a problem solver. Joseph Yang, who is involved in multiple organizations and has wonderful creativity. I can take that microphone now. Hello. And I can say Melanie Dykstra. So, We're going to do a photo together first, Kirsten, with the nominees before we announce the winners. Thank you. And the winner is Gary Miller, who volunteers for About Care, an organization that helps empower seniors to stay safely in their homes by having volunteers like Gary provide assistance. Joseph, thank you for all you do in the community. We appreciate you. And it's all about being nominated, right? Thank you. One photo. Thank you, Joseph. Congratulations. The next value is driven. These volunteers are recognized for taking on new challenges and devoting many hours of their time to service. And the finalists are Leah Jennings, who as a full-time student, is this working? And had a part-time job, still served over 900 hours with Hushabye Nursery. Yes, you're right there. Thanks, Leah. And, deja vu, Joseph Yang, who was driven to found his own nonprofit at the age of 16. And Mark Rabins, unfortunately he got stuck at the airport, but we have a representative from One Small Step to be here on his behalf. Is it Amanda? Oh, it's Amanda. I looked right in between the two of you. And the winner is Leah Jennings. As I mentioned, Leah volunteers at Hushabye Nursery. Hushabye helps care for infants born exposed to opioids, and Leah provides comfort and care as a cuddler. Oh. All together now. That's a great thing, Leah. Oh, I'm sorry. Next, next is kind. I lost my place. These nominees exemplify serving the community with respect, kindness, and always a smile on their face. And the finalists are Karen Shoemaker. Karen is unable to be with us tonight as she is also off volunteering, but we will invite a representative from About Care to come up and join me. Oh, Steve. Oh, Steve. That's why I know you. Yeah. Steve. Next, we have Joyce McLaren. She shows tremendous kindness as she supports trauma victims and is known to always have a smile on her face at events. Hi, Joyce. And Jerry Strohacker can be found. Jerry brought a cheering section. Jerry can be found helping out at United Food Bank 5 to 6 days a week, providing kindness and energy to all the volunteers. Okay, we're going to Right here. And the winner is Joyce McLaren, who consistently serves with Gilbert Police Department and Winged Hope, providing kindness to those struggling through trauma. Thank you for all you do, Joyce. Fun fact, we live in the same neighborhood, too. Yes. Next is the value humble. These nominees have the heart of service and make strong contributions to the organizations they serve. And the finalists are Rachel Olim. Is that correct? Did I say that right? Okay, Rachel Olim, who works in the background with area Title I schools organizing volunteer activities and is a voice for cystic fibrosis. Scott September takes on many of the handyman tasks needed to help the CC's Hope Center home be a safe living environment for girls who have experienced sex trafficking. Tracy Pagano serves at One Small Step, doing all the tasks needed with a smile on her face and a humble heart. I attended One Small Step's annual gala just on Saturday night. It was a great event, and great congratulations to them. Okay, we'll take a photo before I announce the winner. One of my favorites. Oh, yeah, she wants to sit in front of the town seal.
Gotta take it easy.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Why did I decide to stand next to Scott? I look even shorter than normal. Standing next to him. And the winner is Tracy Pagano. She makes a difference in the lives served by One Small Step, helping provide free clothes, work boots, and other supportive services to those in need. This organization does way more than I ever knew that they do, and I'm very proud of them and to have them here located in Gilbert. Now, photo.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Trying to hold my papers. Congratulations. Oh, Tracy, stay here. See, between us, we have a brain and we work out all the logistics. This next award is to recognize a group that gives back through service, contributions, and more as they make a difference in the Gilbert community. And the finalists are Starbright Foundation. These volunteers work tirelessly to provide education and support to those who have been in sex trafficking situations. The Parks and Recreation Foundation. This group is instrumental in raising funds to make sure that everyone has access to parks and recreation activities, including free swim lessons. Hi. I just saw all of you recently, too. And for our town, these volunteers are full of energy and passion as they connect our businesses, faith-based organizations, and the community to fill the gaps and needs of the community, represented by their director, Fran Lauder. Let's do a photo. Together, scooch in a little. Scooch in a little. It's a big group. Oh, thank you. See between us, sweet. Step a little sideways, like some prom photos. Yeah. You know. Standing next to you. You're perfect.
1, 2, and 3.
They both did that at the exact same time. You guys match. You match your phones. And the winner is Gilbert Parks and Recreation Foundation. To date, they have raised over $45,000 for the scholarship program, $15,000 for the Learn to Swim program, and $25,000 for bike safety programs in Gilbert. Let me come over for a photo. And just like 3 weeks ago, I was at their annual fundraiser at Freestone Rec Center, which was amazing. Our final award category of the night is Youth Volunteer. These nominees are definitely represent the dedicated, positive, and hardworking youth in Gilbert. And the finalists are Victoria Barrera. Is Victoria here? There she is. Who is a volunteer at 2 different organizations providing service and support to seniors. Hi. And then Katie Bake helps at HD South and has been a tremendous asset in helping with the museum collections and events. Did I say your last name correctly? See, teens, Katie Beck. She was very willing to tell me how to say it. Just like I said with our students of the month, they always tell us. Getting my steps in tonight. And the winner is Victoria Barrera. Victoria has been a volunteer for the past 5 years at American Orchards, helping run activities for seniors, and in her spare time also volunteers with Banner Gateway, helping with transportation. Okay, one photo with all of us.
And there'll be 2 rows.
There'll have to be.
So if you're taller than me, you're probably in the back row.
No, you're not a good marker. She's short too, so.
And then if we can have 2 on this side. And then, I know you want and I should know, but I'll have you right
Tracy,
here.
sure, Tracy.
Yeah, and then I'll have you right here. We'll have the awards. And then all of these kind of pillars. Everybody has an awards in the front, right? There we go.
Good. Here we go. We'll give it to my room. I've already done it, so.
There you go. Hold on. Yes. Actually, switch you to.
Hi. See, she gets the orders. She gets the
Now
orders.
we have 3 and 3 with the awards. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
One more. There you are. Congratulations, everybody. Thanks for all you do in our community. Thank you. Nice to see you, Steve. You too. Yeah.
So my understanding is the next one. So the next one is.
Okay, So thank you to all the volunteers and all the nominees. We wouldn't be able to run our community without them. I have a proclamation to read for National Volunteer Month. This happens to be National Volunteer Week in the country. Whereas volunteers are one of our community's greatest assets, continuing to give back by volunteering with the Gilbert Police, Fire and Rescue, and Parks and Recreation Departments, as well as by serving on numerous boards, commissions, committees, foundations, and nonprofit organizations. And whereas Gilbert volunteers perform a variety of duties vital to Gilbert, including supporting special events and activities, helping to maintain parks and facilities, assisting with public safety efforts, including car seat technicians, citizen patrolling, crime prevention, and crisis support, helping to support nonprofit and senior programs, including delivering meals, stocking and sorting food, providing transportation, and mentoring, creating and managing activities and programs for the military and veteran community, and advising the town council on important projects and endeavors within the community through boards and commissions. And whereas the giving of oneself in service to another empowers the giver and the recipient, and whereas volunteers serve the community from Gilbert's youth to its senior population with pride and commitment, and work to ensure Gilbert, Arizona is a place where we anticipate needs, strive to create solutions, and help people. And whereas volunteers are vital to our future as a caring and productive nation, state, and town, and whereas the mayor and town council are proud of and thankful for the volunteers that serve our community. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Peterson, mayor of the town of Gilbert, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as National Volunteer Month in Gilbert, Arizona. And Melanie Dykstra has to get a picture with me. You're gonna accept me. Kirsten makes us do, and I know I should. She's like, no, please don't. She hates being recognized. She hates being recognized. Yeah, no, it's the next. Yep. I'll announce.
She's gonna announce it.
Next, we have a proclamation declaring April 28th, 2023 as Gilbert, Arizona's 2023 Arbor Day, and this will be presented by Councilmember Bongiovanni to the Parks and Recreation Department. Anybody in the department that would like to come down and join the council member, please? Only one? Just Kylie? Lane, why don't you come down too? Rocky's back there.
Okay.
They're abandoning you.
Bummer. Okay.
Oh, here they go. Sure. Milan? Milan?
Milan, you're being paged to the front of the
Yep.
room. There we go. Some are out in the lobby with the foundation, I think.
I'm good. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas on April 10th in 1872, the first Arbor Day was celebrated in Nebraska City, Nebraska, with an estimated 1 million trees planted. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout 50 states and in the world, and will be observed in Arizona on April 28th, 2023. And whereas Gilbert's water tower will be lit green on April 28th in honor and observance of Arbor Day. And whereas communities across the great nation gather annually to celebrate trees and plant for a greener tomorrow. And whereas trees clean the air we breathe, filter the water we drink, provide habitats for over 75% of the world's living organisms, and with forests providing 25% of the key ingredients found in all medicines. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a great source of joy, spiritual renewal, and provide hope for the future. Now, therefore, on behalf of Bridget Peterson, Mayor of the Town of Gilbert, Arizona, I do hereby proclaim April 28th, 2023 as Gilbert, Arizona's 2023 Arbor Day. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day by supporting efforts to plant trees and protect the existing trees and woodlands, and plant trees to promote the well-being of this and future generations.
So you all know there's a method to my madness. Councilmember Bongiovanni is the liaison to the Gilbert Parks and Rec Board, so I thought it made sense for him to present the Arbor Day proclamation. Next, we have a proclamation declaring May 1st, 2023 as Global Love Day. And unfortunately, the recipient can't be here this evening, so I'm just going to ask Kirsten to bring the proclamation up to Councilmember Buckley so that she can read it from her seat and know that we are part of this.
Well, they gave this to a good person anyway. Global Love Day. So whereas Global Love Day was established to facilitate love and peace on our planet, and whereas since its inception, Global Love Day has been honored in over 170 countries and 830 proclamations issued in more than 40 languages, all reiterating that all life is interconnected with and independent. And whereas love begins with, see, I told you. So love begins with self-acceptance and forgiveness, whereas together we can make a difference through love, and whereas the Dalai Lama famously stated, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Peterson, mayor of, well, I'm not Bridget Peterson, but I, Bridget Peterson, the mayor of the town of Gilbert, hereby dedicate and proclaim May 1st, 2023 as a Global Love Day in Gilbert, Arizona, and invite all citizens to observe this day, which honors the public cause for global love, world peace, and universal joy.
Next up, we have a proclamation declaring April 30th, 2023 as National Therapy Animal Day, and I took this one myself. I would like to invite Cindy and her dog Presley down to the front of the room. We're going to recognize National Therapy Animal Day. Whereas there are thousands of Pet Partners therapy animal teams serving in communities across the United States, and whereas Pet Partners has designated April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day, and whereas therapy animal teams in the town of Gilbert play an essential role in improving human health and well-being through the human-animal bond, and whereas therapy animal teams complete millions of visits per year in settings such as hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospice, and whereas therapy animal teams interact with a variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life. And whereas those exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Peterson, mayor of the town of Gilbert, do hereby proclaim April 30th, 2023 as National Therapy Animal Day in the town of Gilbert, and encourage our community to celebrate our therapy animals and their human handlers while honoring and recognizing the service of therapy animal teams. Let's give them a hand. Let's get a photo. No, hold it. You're welcome, Cindy. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. So Presley is a school therapy dog. He was trained through a program that is funded by the National, I'm going to forget the name of it now. It is the North Shore Animal Leagues of America. That's who funds it. Through Pet Partners, they do all the evaluations and set up the trainers for the program to have social emotional supports for our students and staff in our public schools.
I wanted to take this topic because we have therapy dogs here that we work with in the town of Gilbert. We've had Zora, who has now retired with her handler, Ed, and we have Quinn, who works with, and my mind is escaping me, one of our firefighters to provide comfort to our public safety. And I have a golden retriever that started out as being trained to be a veteran service dog, a veterans assistance dog, and she flunked out of the training, and that's how I ended up with her, because she's a little too food reactive. And so, yeah, she would drag you into the street for a hamburger. So she was not going to be a great service dog, but she's a wonderful family dog. So I appreciate all the work that our animals do within our communities. We have fire ATF dogs that work for the town of Gilbert. We've had Spring, and we have Zeta, and we have Buck. And as much as they work for the town and they solve cases, they also provide comfort to our staff when we are able to see them throughout the buildings and just love on them for a few minutes. I know they get as much out of it as we do because they are working dogs. But thank you for bringing this to my attention, and congratulations, and sharing Presley with us. And here's your proclamation. Thank you. Next, I have Councilmember Anderson coming down to recognize our town clerk's office for National Clerks Week. Do I have that right? National Clerks Week. Come Chevelle right behind you.
Gotta put my glasses on. Yep. Just turned on.
It's on. She handed it to you live.
Okay.
Hot mic, hot mic.
Hot mic. Hot mic. Oh, great. Look at this. Boy, am I privileged. This is great. Is this the entire office?
Missing one.
Missing one. I want you to take a look at the size of this department. This is the smallest department, I believe, in the town. Traditionally, the clerk's office is either the smallest or one of the smaller departments in a municipal organization, but the work that they do is just tremendous. They're responsible for the records that keep us transparent. They administer elections. They keep us in line, all of the boards and commissions and the council. They do a tremendous work, and we want to recognize them all across the country, but especially our clerk's office, who I feel especially privileged to be here with tonight. Whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is a vital part of local government that exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the information center and professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks are dutiful in remaining neutral and impartial and render equal service to all, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations, whereas it is appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of Gilbert's town clerk office and the time and efforts of the town clerk staff. Now, therefore, I, Bridget Peterson, Mayor of the Town of Gilbert, do hereby proclaim April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Municipal Clerks Week. Thank you. Thanks for all your work.
I'll take one and Councilmember take the other. Okay?
That's all of them. We're done.
Well, we made it through our presentations and proclamations for this evening. We will now move to communications from citizens, and I will pass to Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The Gilbert Town Council values citizens' comments and input. Anyone wishing to speak before the council must fill out a request to speak card for each item they wish to speak on and submit it to the town clerk or place it in the bin provided prior to the start of the meeting. The communications from citizens portion on the agenda provides citizens an opportunity to identify for the town council matters of interest or concern related to town government that are not on the printed agenda. Under the provisions of the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the Town Council is prohibited from responding to issues that have not been properly noticed. Therefore, the Town Council may only listen to citizens who wish to address them on non-agenda items. At the conclusion of the open call to public, response is limited to individual members of the council responding to criticism made by those who have addressed the public body, asking staff to review a matter, or asking that a matter be placed on a future agenda. The town asks that when your name is called, you come forward to the podium, state your name and place of residence, and then begin speaking. All speakers are expected to observe common standards of decorum and courtesy. Personal attacks, political speeches, or threats of political action are inappropriate in this forum and will be grounds for ending a speaker's time at the podium. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and you'll see a timer up there at the podium and also on the screen. And our first speaker is Terry Natty, followed by Shane Krauser.
Good evening, all. My name is Terry Natty. I live in a county island within the Gilbert planning area. One of my neighbors was urged to speak by the mayor and the town manager with the public works director and capital improvements manager. The results of that were sent out to the neighbors. There were 10 bullet points. I'm going to speak to 2. The first one is, it is 65 feet, it always was, and it always will be. My response to that is, why? Why can Maricopa County operate within 55 feet, and yet Gilbert refuses to? Why are they so hell-bent at 65 feet? I know why I'm invested in having you guys take less, but why is staff so invested on the 65 feet? Especially when the minor arterials in the Gilbert Street typologies say that it can be done in 110 to 130 feet. The second one is the main sticking points are that RWCD and SRP both have indicated that they are willing to reduce their footprint to be inside the 65-foot right-of-way, although they prefer to be located, however, neither has signed off on that. Although those two entities could demand that their right-of-way be located outside the 65 feet limit, the town does not believe that will happen. So I still argue that this main sticking point with RWCD and SRP, both entities told me that they don't care what the easement is, 55, 65, 50, whatever. They just want their portion that is unencumbered. Also, SRP doesn't care whether they have their lines below ground or above ground. They said that the town was driving that. And in my small group meeting, I was told that SRP was driving that by one of your assistant managers. So, imagine, if you will, that I go to your house and I say, I'm gonna take the back seat out of your car. You can fit 3 people in there. And I'm going to take 1/10 of that back seat because I need it for what I'm doing. I'm going to give it back to you. You can still drive your car. It works perfectly fine. You can get from point A to point B. You can still haul 2 passengers. You can't haul a third, but you don't really need to haul a third. I feel like that's what y'all are doing. You're cutting off something that you say that you need, but you don't. Oh, well, but it'll be okay because we're going to pay you for it. Well, I got my offer, and my offer is $2 less per square foot than 2 neighbors to one side of me and 1 neighbor to the other side of me. And we all got our appraisals about the same time. So what's going on? Doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Natty. Next up is Shane Krauser, and that will be the final.
Thank you, Mayor Peterson and council members. I want to address the content of a meeting that happened on April 12th of this year, just a few days ago. That was the meeting of the Maricopa County Association of Governments. And at that meeting, what was discussed are air quality standards. And the town manager, Patrick Banger, was there. And I took the time to watch that meeting, and of course, I'm deeply concerned, and I believe that this is an issue that's not being discussed. And if it were being discussed, it is something that the residents of this community would be significantly concerned about. Essentially, what happened there was a discussion of Maricopa County's obligation to comply with EPA's air control standard, or air quality standard, and we were essentially told that if we don't comply, they'll come in and do it for us. That is the EPA. I appreciated Patrick Banger, the town manager, acknowledging a couple of things. Number one, acknowledging the gravity of the cost, and acknowledging that it's this council that ultimately is going to make that decision. So he made it very clear that it's this town council and ultimately the mayor that will cast a vote at a meeting that's going to, at least at this point, happen on April 26th, as to whether or not we will take measures to attempt to comply with what we're being told by the EPA. I also appreciated the recognition at that meeting of the various people that were there that this is virtually an impossible standard for not just the county to meet, but for the town of Gilbert to meet. So essentially, just in a nutshell, here's what the standard is. The ozone standard for Maricopa County, set by the EPA, is at 70 parts per billion. And we won't go into the details, other than just to say, this is impossible, outside of absolutely disrupting this community. Going back to the year 2000, almost 20 years ago, we were not even at that standard. So you look at a population that is about half of what we are today, and we didn't meet the standard 20 years ago. We didn't meet the standard when COVID was set, when COVID was happening, and we were out and about in the community, not doing much of anything, not driving our cars nearly as much as we were. So with that said, the implementation, I want to quote from that meeting, and Mayor, I know you're going to be voting at this gathering on April 26th, and I just want to be very clear that at this meeting, there was a question in terms of what is the cost to implement, and the answer was, we don't have a full understanding. Why would we vote yes on something where we don't have a full understanding as to what it may cost the taxpayers? Next, and this is the final point, what are the measures that would have to be taken? And what was said, and I just want to quote this to close. I think I heard you say, this is asking the individual that's overseeing the meeting, I think I heard you say that if we eliminated cars and trucks completely, we still would meet the new standard, correct? The answer, we would be very close to it. Response, but even if we eliminated every car and truck from the road, it would be questionable whether or not we'd be able to meet the standard, correct? Yes, we might meet the standard. We're talking about a standard that would require us to eliminate virtually every car in the county off of the road, and we might meet the standard. This is silliness, and Mayor, this is an opportunity to be a shining light on the hill, to stand for the residents, ultimately securing the rights of the people, and ensuring that federalism ultimately exists, that we push back against the federal government and these illegitimate attempts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krauser. Mayor, that is our final comment tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'll pass it right back over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no request to pull an item. I'm just going to glance real quick to make sure I didn't miss that. With that, I would make a motion to approve items 7 through 22 on the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Torgerson. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you for that. Moving on to our public hearing items this evening. We have no comment. Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Items will be heard at one public hearing, at which time anyone wishing to comment, but we don't have any comment cards at this point in time. Are there any items that, I'm assuming that we want to have a discussion about 23 and a presentation. The other items, 24, 25, do we need separate presentations for those? I'm just checking with everyone before we move forward. Would anyone like a presentation on item 24 or 25? Did you have something to add, Councilmember Buckley? Your microphone's on.
No, just 23. No.
Just 23, okay. So just 23. Then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I would take a motion to approve, I would take a motion for items 24 and 25, if someone would like to make that.
I move to vote yes on 24 and 25.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice.
It's okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve items 24 and 25 from Councilmember Torgerson, seconded by Councilmember Anderson. Please vote.
Are we voting? I didn't hear that.
Motion passes 7-0. Going back and opening the public hearing on general plan item GP 22-14, zoning item Z 22-14. If I could have staff come to the podium for a presentation on this. I see Keith making his way forward. If you could just introduce yourself for us, please, Keith.
I want to interject that I am going to remove myself from the dais for perception of conflict on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Buckley, did you have anything to add? Your microphone's on, I'm just asking.
Okay, yes. Are we open for discussion?
No,
Oh, okay.
I have to have a staff presentation, and the applicant has to do a presentation, then we'll be open for discussion. Or, yeah, because we don't have any public hearing. Thank you, Keith.
Yes, Mayor Peterson, members of the council, good evening. For those council members who don't know me, my name is Keith Newman, and I am one of the senior planners here for the town. So the project tonight that I'm presenting before you is District at Cooley Station. And as the mayor already stated, it's a general plan amendment and a rezone, and I'll go over that in just a second. So the project site, as you can see on the screen in front of you, is located at the northwest corner of Wrecker Road and Williamsfield Road in the Gateway Character area in the Cooley Station planned area development area. And I'll show you on this next slide kind of a context map of Cooley Station, and you can see the project site highlighted there or surrounded with that kind of turquoise rectangle. So this is the whole Cooley Station area that in this immediate area, all the projects you can see that we've kind of added a little site plan over or embedded it over the top of this aerial. And you can see that the project site's located in the heart at Cooley Station, surrounded by lots of other types of developments that are multifamily in nature, commercial in nature, and a mix of uses as well. So the request tonight is for a proposed general plan amendment on 15 acres from general commercial to village center, and a proposed PAD rezone with some deviations also in the site's 15 acres, as I've stated. And the rezone will go from general commercial to Gateway Village Center. I'll explain a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to show you these exhibits to show you the site. So general plan from general commercial to village center, and the zoning from general commercial, which is existing today, to the proposed zoning of Gateway Village Center. So just before I jump into the development plan, a little background on this site. The site was originally general planned for Gateway Village Center in 2004, and then in 2007, the initial Cooley Station planned area development was created, creating and zoning this property as Gateway Village Center. So this site has been zoned this designation before. And I'd say, I think it was around 2014 or so, the applicant came, or the property owner came forward to rezone the property from Gateway Village Center to general commercial, given the current market conditions at the time, did not lend itself to a more mixed-use urban residential environment like the applicant is proposing tonight. The market conditions at the time were more, lended themselves more to a kind of a master planned commercial corner. So the applicant is now going back to the original vision for this site, which is a mixed-use, pedestrian-friendly environment with a mix of uses of residential and commercial uses instead of just one use type. So I will show you the development plan. And of course, the applicant, when he comes up, when Mr. Lake comes up, he'll be able to explain more of the background and history behind why they're doing what they're doing. But I just wanted to show you this development plan. Very briefly, 612 apartment units at the max height of the buildings is about 54 feet to the top of the parapet walls. There's 2 5.5 to 6-story parking structures. And you can see the buildings, how they're arranged on the site. There's 2 large apartment buildings, the L-shaped one and then the one along Haskell. And each one has a parking garage in the middle. The parking garage is 5.5 to 6 stories tall, but they won't exceed the height of the 54-foot height of the buildings. The bottom story and a half or so of each parking garage is underground. And this is what they call a wrapped concept, where you have the units on the outside and the parking garage on the middle, kind of screening the parking garage, which is a unique concept that we don't really see here. We haven't really constructed any in the town of Gilbert like this. There's a few planned, but this one is one of the ones that is planned now, and you'll start seeing these come out of the ground in the near future in several other projects throughout the town. So the site is 46.13 dwelling units per acre, which the town general plan for the Gateway Village Center core area, you can have densities up to 50 dwelling units per acre. There's 25,500 square feet of freestanding commercial space with second-story office/residential potential above the ground floor level on that commercial corner that you can see on the development plan. 13,500 square foot of ground floor commercial space along, and you can see it on the site plan, along Williamsfield. There's some ground floor commercial space, about 6,500 square feet. And it contains things such as there's a clubhouse and a gym that'll be open to the public. There's WeWork space, kind of like offices that people can rent. And then like a little Herbo market type grocery store thing. And the other building along Recker will have the same commercial type of uses as well. And that has about 6,500 square feet of commercial as well. So a small portion of each one of these buildings, at least the frontages on Recker and Williamsfield, are what we call a loft unit. So you have commercial or retail on the ground floor and then residential above it on the 3 stories that are above that commercial. And then along the street frontages, you will see 61 on-street parking spaces. A lot of them along Williamsfield and Recker are constructed today. We've already constructed those. Some of those will be eliminated, a few of them, like 11 or 12 of them, I can't remember the exact number, to accommodate decel lanes and increase public safety. But you will have, and you can see them highlighted on the screen in the green, and the yellow's the decel lanes. The green are parking spaces that are parallel parking along the street that will remain, and then the blue are on-street parking spaces that will be added. And then there's 4 open space amenity areas. You can see them in the middle of the buildings, and they'll have various pool and other types of amenities. So there are 2 site entrances. You can see one off of, or 2 main side entrances, one off of Recker, one off of Williamsfield. And then there's the parking garage to the north in the building along Haskell. That parking garage is entered through the commercial parking lot. And then the parking garage along Verde Drive, or along that portion of the street, there's an access off of Verde Drive to that parking garage. So the applicant has proposed a few deviations from our land development code, and they have to do with transparency, commercial transparency. So in our code, it's required to have a minimum of 75% of the ground floor commercial or office building or frontage shall consist of windows, display doors, and outdoor patios, and a combination of those types of things. The applicant's proposing 59% along Williamsfield instead of 75, and 67% along Recker. And the justification for this, which the town supports, is those commercial percentages along the windows and so forth along that they're proposing along those street frontages aim to make room for columns and structural elements that are consistent with Cooley Station neo-traditional design architecture for the buildings, which really focuses on brick and natural stone type materials and a blend of glazing instead of just a lot of glass. And because glass is not technically a characteristic of neo-traditional design. So that's why you see them kind of reducing some of that glass in percentages, which we have supported as town staff. And I'll show you a graphic here really quick, and you can see the commercial transparency. There's still plenty of glass, plenty of transparency, but it allows for those additional neo-traditional design elements that we want on those buildings instead of just a frontage of glass along each street frontage. So going back to the table, the last deviation that they're proposing is for arterial vehicular access. So in the code, vehicular access is limited to non-arterial streets in the Gateway Village Center zoning district. So per the development plan, let me go back to it. They have 2 access points off of principal arterial streets, one off of Williamsfield Road and one off of Wrecker. These access points and the applicant's justification for that is that this standards directs all vehicular traffic to these entrances that are wide enough that can handle the larger volume of traffic. And if you notice, there are other locations in the town, and I'm going to bring up this driveway, this little exhibit for you. The town staff and the council has approved these arterial entrances off of other streets in the Gateway Village Center zoning district, most predominantly across the street at the Verde at Cooley Station development, which you can see is amazing and it's constructed. They have one off of Williamsfield, and they actually have 3 off of Wrecker, and then there's a project to the south that we're working on that has one as well. So these entrances being off principal arterials, staff is supporting that, and it is something that will aid in the safety of cars going into the commercial and the retail portion of the development. As far as public participation is concerned, the applicant held 1 virtual neighborhood meeting in April of last year, and only 1 surrounding property owner attended, and they asked general questions. And we have received no comments from the public from that point forward. Even after we sent out notices and posted signs, we have received no comments from the public regarding this project. So that concludes my presentation, but staff recommends that you adopt the resolution and approve the general plan amendment, and that you also make the findings of fact and adopt the attached ordinance in your packet approving the PAD rezone. And so I'm open for any questions if you have any. Otherwise, the applicant Sean Lake is here, and he has a presentation for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Any questions for Keith staff at this point in time? You will have more opportunity to ask him questions following the applicant's presentation. Seeing none at this time, thank you, Keith, and I invite.
I have some questions, or do you want me to wait until Sean gets finished?
No, if you have questions for staff, you can ask them right now before the applicant comes up, because then the applicant may be able to answer some of those also
Right.
when he does his presentation. And I know he'll sit down and take feverish notes, knowing Mr. Lake. So if you have questions for our staff right now, you can feel free to ask them.
Okay. I would like to ask some
Okay.
questions. Okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have quite a few questions, and number one, I believe initially I thought this project was about 300 apartment units maybe, and then when it came back, it appears it's 612. It's almost doubled in number. Is there any reason for that, or is that just redesigning, or? And I believe this is probably the largest, if not the second largest, apartment complex in Gilbert, or will be. Am I correct in that?
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Buckley, I don't know if it's the largest in the town of Gilbert. I'm not
Close.
aware of that. But as far as the number of units, being at 612, that is, to my knowledge, that's been the number of units from the beginning of the project. They haven't really varied too much in the number of units. It's always been about 600 and about 46 dwelling units per acre.
Okay, okay. The other question, the glass item that's not a big deal, for me. I think if it works, I would like to see all of that glass as required. There's a number of other things, but I want to read something that was on the packet that you guys sent, and this is concerning to me. Not concerning, but it's just, and it was on page 564, and it's your findings of facts at the end of your presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to read number 1, and it says, "The proposed zoning amendment does not conform to the general plan as amended. Any applicable specific area plan, neighborhood, or other plan, and any underlay or overlay zoning district." And do you want to explain that? And well, should I read the last one? I mean, the number 2 is fine because all required notices were given, all required public hearings were given. And then number 4, the last one is, "The proposed rezoning does not support the town's strategic initiative for community livability." Do you have any comments to make on that?
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Buckley, the way it's worded seems to be a little bit misleading, but it does comply with those things. So I don't know why it was worded that way. Maybe it was a typo, but it does comply with those things that you have mentioned. But the wording is just a little bit misleading, and that's something that we can correct in the future on our findings of fact. But it does comply with those things that you mentioned. It is kind of confusing, the wording.
Okay, well, it was pretty clear to me.
But okay, I can understand that, how you could read it that way, but it does comply with those things.
Okay, okay. Let's see here, the glass and the parking that, the
Sorry.
parking that's on Williams Field, is that going to be parallel parking, or will that be vertical parking, or is that been decided?
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Buckley. So the parking that's along Williams Field, and I put the graphic back up on the screen for you, so you can see, the parking that's in green are existing on-street parking spaces that the town has constructed. So those will remain. The yellow along Williams Field is there are some parallel parking spaces there today, kind of just a little bit west of the existing bus pullout. All of those parking, there's like 3 or 4 of them. Those will be removed, and it'll kind of be half bus lane, half decel lane. So really, the only on-street parking spaces that will be removed along Williams Field Road are like 3 or 4 spaces that are right before the right turn into that entrance, and the rest of them will remain.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. The other thing, I can't see on the 4 sides if there's any residential in the area. Is there, so the residential so there's nothing other than catty corner there of residential for that area?
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Buckley. So as of right now, the only residential that's adjacent to the project is the apartment complex to the west, which I believe was just constructed a few years ago. And then there's an apartment complex to the north, and then there's some single family as well. But there is an apartment complex that you guys approved a zone change for about a year ago across the street on the east side of Wrecker Road called Fred's Place. And they have 1- and 2-story apartment units. It's just not constructed yet. So it's surrounded by residential on, looks like 3 sides.
Is that Haskell that's going vertical or across the page? The right to the bottom left? Not where it's a street going by the residential. What street is that?
Councilmember Buckley, so you're talking about the street on the northern boundary of the project? Is that what you're referring to?
Really, it's on the west,
Boundary.
the southwest, that vertical line that's
Oh,
going
okay.
from the north to from south to north, yeah.
Okay, so Councilmember Buckley, that street that's on the west side that's going vertical north to south, that is called Verde Drive. And that stops at Haskell Street, it dead ends, but it goes south of Williamsfield Road into the Verde at Cooley Station project, and eventually will go all the way down close to the railroad tracks. You can see it, and then it'll actually go east and it will go west and go out to Wrecker and eventually out to Williamsfield Road too. I just don't have it highlighted on here, but it goes in multiple different directions once it goes south.
So it connects down to Wrecker.
That's right,
Okay.
eventually.
Okay,
That's correct.
okay. Well, I think that, I will say, I do want to bring this up, that I did receive a letter from a resident that was in this area, and I, don't have that with me or anything, but I did receive that earlier in the week that said none of them had received any notification, so that's something we probably should check up on. But they said they weren't notified, they had no idea. I don't know where they were, how far away they were from this project, but I just wanted to bring that up
Okay, thank you.
as well. All right, I think that answers the questions that I had.
Mayor, council members, I did quickly pull up the numbers of some of the larger apartment complexes in the town. There are 840 units at the Playa and Sahara
Wait,
apartment complex.
Can you talk in the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's 840 units at the Playa and Sahara apartment complex, 516 at BB Living, 751 at Gabriella Point, and 613 at Bella Astoria. Most of them that we see are anywhere between that 300, 400, 500 units, but we do have several that are larger. There are several that are in the 200 and 300 as well, but this definitely won't be the largest, but it'll be close. It'll have a large number of units, but it won't be the largest.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor, I know you wanted to add something. I just want to throw something in. Keith, I've seen this happen in the past. It's very possible that you used a template from a past presentation and it didn't conform under the findings of fact. Since I spent so much time on the Planning Commission, I have seen this. So it could be that you just cut and pasted the wrong ones into this presentation, and none of us caught it. So that was a great catch on behalf of Councilmember Buckley. So I wanted to comment on that. And I also received a letter this week about somebody that didn't get notification for something, but it wasn't this project. It was a different project in Gilbert. And I think we all received that email about a different project that's a multifamily project. I don't want to call it out, but so I'm not sure. I don't know. It could be, yes. So it could be the same one, since we just happened to receive something this week too. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Keith, before you leave, I was wondering if you could address the phasing of this project, please?
Yes, Mayor Peterson, Vice Mayor Tilke, yes, I would love to do that. So, wrong direction. So at the very back of my presentation, there's a little colored, if I can find it, there's a little colored site plan that shows the phasing. It's kind of written in text. We do have a phasing plan that we're getting approved with the design review case, which we're currently reviewing. but it's not in the rezone case. But you can see on this site plan, the big L-shaped building that has frontage along Williamsfield and frontage along Verde, that big building, that's phase one. Phase two is the apartment building that has frontage along Haskell. That goes all the way along Haskell and has a little frontage on Recker. That's phase two. And then phase three, or I don't know if it's a phase three, but it's a future phase. We don't know when the commercial's going to be constructed, but the other phase is the commercial corner. We don't know when that's going to come in, but that's a future phase. Does that answer your phasing question, Vice Mayor Tilke?
Yes, thank you. I'm assuming Mr. Lake will address that as well. It's very important to me that we don't lose that commercial component, and the closer those are phased together, the better in my mind. So I'll look forward to the applicant discussing. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any other, Councilmember Anderson.
Keith or Kyle, thank you for your presentation. Do you recall the date when Cooley Station actually first began?
I can answer. Go ahead. Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Anderson. So Cooley Station, the major general plan amendment for 700 acres was done in 2000. It was approved in 2004. The site was annexed in 2006. And in March of 2007, council adopted the first ordinance for 302 acres for the Cooley Station PAD. So it looks like in 2007 is when that PAD was initially created.
And what was the purpose? What was it intended to do to serve in that area?
Councilmember Anderson, very, very good question. I actually have at the back of my presentation, I had this in my back pocket a little bit. I anticipated maybe this would be brought up. So this is one of the original development plans that was originally approved for Cooley Station. And I wish I had a laser, like I could point this out for you, but you can see, I hope you can see the intersections of Williamsfield and Recker, but you can see that it was always, the vision for this area from the very beginning, and especially this corner, was for a lot of density and residential density and mixed-use type of environment. So that was what was originally intended for this project and for this site. And I also want to note that the site is actually located in a vertical overlay district, Area 3, which actually allows heights up to 90 feet by right and 150 feet with a PAD. So the applicant is actually proposing less density than originally anticipated for this area, but still it's a lot more density than you see anywhere else in that area, but it was always envisioned to be a more dense, urbanized, pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use type of environment. I know it's hard to see on this plan, but the pink is like residential units.
So we haven't varied really from the original intent of Cooley Station.
Councilmember Anderson, that's correct.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilmember Buckley.
So I have one more question for you. In regard to the underground parking, which I really like, I wish every developer would come in with underground parking. And, now, if it's, my understanding is correct, there's one floor of the underground parking underground. I mean, yeah, just one floor or a floor and a half.
Mayor Peterson, Councilmember Buckley, I can have the applicant address that when he presents.
Okay.
It's either a floor or a floor and a half, but Sean Lake can clarify that when he
And that levels the parking garage out with the same level as the apartments.
That is correct.
Which
It
are-
won't extend above the height of
Which
the
are
apartment
four
units.
levels,
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for staff at this time? Thank you, Keith. I will invite Mr. Sean Lake to the podium, please. Just push the button, Sean, so that the mic turns on. There you go. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, council members. Sean Lake here on behalf of Kaplan, who is looking to develop this property while we wait for this PowerPoint to load. I find it interesting, when this project first started, I think my partner had brown hair and he could part it. And he's sitting in the audience, so I can make fun of him. I think Scott Anderson was a planner one at the time. In talking with Mr. Cooley, he has been talking about this property for a very long time. Even before Cooley Station in the early 2000s, it was working with ASU and the town and the Gateway Plan and various different things to talk about what this property would be. And it's always been, from in the inception, a very dense type of project. And I know the mayor has been there pretty much every step of the way on this project. And so we're excited to see it happen and to kind of see that vision that has come forward over the last 2 decades, if you will, and even longer, of this property as it's developed. And this is following through on those 2 decades of planning and bringing the type of things that have been envisioned here for a very, very long time. I won't go over the site. I think Keith did a very good job, and so I'll try not to duplicate what he has done, but we're all familiar with the site. This is really the epicenter of Cooley Station, at Recker and Williamsfield, where it has always been envisioned to be this dense area that's going to happen here. This was part of the Gateway Plan that was originally adopted. It was part of the Gateway Village Center growth area, and as Keith indicated, it was part of the height waiver area, where they could go up to 90 feet by right. We're not asking for that, and our development plan will not allow that, but what that does is kind of give you a vision of what they thought could happen here. More density, more height. We're not asking for that, but we think this is a great project that will help carry forward that vision that the Cooleys have had for this property and the town have had over the many decades that the site has been being worked on. Keith, I think, had a much better plan than I have. Showing, but this kind of shows you what has happened and been built in this area and some of the areas that are yet to be built as they go forward with the site. But Cooley has been living up or trying to live up to that original vision over the last several decades. A question was asked, what's around there? And so here's some pictures of what is existing around this property, both to the north and to the west and to the south. Here's Recker Road and to the north, or the Recker Road Acero project. You've got the crossing to the west. You've got the Verde project on the south. And then kitty corner, you've got the Fry's marketplace that is kitty corner to this site. So there is a lot of existing dense development that exists. That's the vision that Cooley has always had for the Cooley Station plan. And we're just carrying that forward. We are requesting that the site be changed back from general commercial to village center. Now, what does that mean? General commercial, I think, is really inconsistent with what the vision is. General commercial on a site like this would be a Home Depot and 5 fast foods. I don't think that's what the town wants. I don't think that's what the neighbors want. I don't think that's the vision of Cooley. That's what general commercial is. And I say 5 fast foods. A number of fast foods, what you would typically see as pads in front of a large retail type user. I don't think that's the best thing for this intersection. I think what we are proposing is the best thing. It's an outstanding project. It's a wrap project, one that has not been built before in the town. Here's kind of things that we're going to change the general plan, change the zoning, ask for that conditional use permit, and then we'll be coming back to the town for a DRB and site plan application. So it's not over. We're kind of still at the 20,000 foot level with the general plan and zoning request. Now, let's talk about the vision for this project, if you will. Many of us have lived in apartment projects. And so imagine, if you will, when you lived in your apartment project, you probably drove into a parking lot. For those of us that lived in Arizona, when we lived in an apartment project, we park in a big parking lot, and we got into the trunk, and we got our 16 bags of groceries, and then we traipsed across the parking lot, 50 yards, 75 yards, and then up 2 flights of stairs if we're lucky, and if we're unlucky, we're on the 3rd floor, carrying our groceries at 122 degrees in June to get to our apartment complex. That's traditionally what we have seen built in the valley. That is not this project. When they talk about wrap, we're talking about a parking garage where you drive into this community, you drive into the parking garage, and you park inside an enclosed parking garage, and you exit that garage onto the same floor as your unit. A very short walking distance. How much of a better living environment is that? Where you can put away your groceries and decide, I'm not going to cook. I'm going to walk down, or I'm going to go down and I'm going to go to a restaurant nearby, or I'm going to walk across the street to a restaurant, or I'm going to go do a little shopping, or go get some other things done in that walkable, pedestrian type of environment. That's what we're trying to envision. A great living environment that's better than what we've seen with that mixed-use type amenities that are found in the area, and that's what we're trying to provide here on this site with the Verde project that exists, as well as the other multifamily that exists at this neighborhood with a well-designed vertical mixed use. Now let's walk through this plan because the colors are significant and mean something. The yellow would be the residential units, and you can see how they're all designed to have open areas or windows onto open space areas around the perimeter of the site. So the yellow would be the residential portion. The pink or the red or salmon, whatever color you want to be, that would be the non-residential or commercial uses that would be built with the first phase with each building. So, for example, on the L-shaped piece along Verde and Williamsfield, you would build the mixed use kind of up along, I'm forgetting the street on the north, Haskell. It took me a second, I apologize. You would have some commercial up along Haskell, and then you would also have that large amount of pink commercial in the first phase with the residential units that are being built along Williamsfield Road, along with the residential. The gray in the center of that yellow would be the parking structure, and that parking structure would be a floor and a half underground, with the rest above ground that would not exceed the height of the structure. So you're not going to look at the top of the building and see a parking structure above it. That's going to be brought down, and that's why we pushed it underground a floor and a half. Then on the second phase, or we'll call it the other phase of the residential portion, you can see the pink areas that would be the commercial or non-residential type uses that would be built with fitness centers and community centers and herbal markets, and those type of things would be built with that phase there. You can see the pink along Haskell, as well as the portion along Record. That would be built with that phase. Again, you've had the yellow, the residential units, and the gray parking structure in the center. The first phase would be accessed off of Verde. The second phase would be accessed off of that internal drive kind of in the middle of the site into that parking structure. The other phase, and I don't want to use third, the other phase is the immediate corner that you can see kind of in the beige area. We are currently working with Vestar to develop that. There are two 12 to 13,000 square foot retail restaurant buildings that are kind of in an L shape with kind of a plaza area in between, and we'll get to that in just a little bit on what they're doing, but we're working with Vestar to develop that. But my client, Kaplan, would be developing the residential, herbal market, and the mixed-use vertical portion with their development, and then Vestar, a very successful retail developer in the valley that we've seen many projects, and we're lucky to have Vestar, quite frankly, as a partner on this, would be developing that portion, and we're working with them right now to do that. So that's what we're looking to do. Now let's talk about some of the things that are unique to this project. Kaplan, with all their projects, uses a very efficient energy and water usage. They use an energy star with the energy, and then they also have the water reduction, water sense program, where they have a reduction in water than normal on the inside of the units, as well as a reduction in water on the outside with the landscaping. And that's important because we're not going to have water forever here in this valley, and we need to be sensible about our water use. And so Kaplan already does that with all of their projects. Trash compactors, set areas for Uber pickup and Amazon package delivery, all those are built into this site to make for a greater living environment. Now let's also talk about some of the unique things that Kaplan does with all of their projects, not just in town of Gilbert, but all of their projects. They work with the police and the fire department to give rental discounts for those people, so that people who work for the police and fire department get discounts with their program. That's not just a Gilbert thing, that's a Kaplan thing. That's what they do on all their projects they do in all their cities. That's a normal thing that they like to do because they try to participate with the community, as well as working with the school district to do the same type of thing. Because those people need good quality housing, and so that's something that they do. Let's look at some of the amenities. I'm going to go through, I think Keith hit all these things where you've got the fitness centers and the clubhouses and the conference centers. The conference centers are available to other HOAs. So there's a lot of residential communities around this project, and they want to have an HOA meeting, but they may not have a conference room or a boardroom. Those rooms are available for the community to come and use those facilities as part of what they may be, a conference center or a neighborhood meeting or something that they're wanting to have a discussion with their HOA. Those are all available to the public, as well as the fitness centers as well, bike maintenance area. One of the things I wanted to point out that I think is really cool, and I'm not going to read all this on there, is the rooftop open space. I haven't seen this in the town. If you look, there's a smaller picture, but I'm going to click on the next. On the upper floor, they're going to have a rooftop open space area. That's really unique and cool. That's really going to be a big amenity for people who want to go out this time of year, maybe not next month, but this time of year and want to sit up there and drink a Diet Coke or a glass of wine or whatever they're doing, meet up with their neighbors and kind of spend some time. That's a great, and have, quite frankly, some tremendous views in this area. So that's a great amenity that we're excited to build into this project. We talked about the pink area retail or commercial spaces that will be built with the representative phases. And then Vestar will build theirs as well, kind of listing all those uses that will be built and the total amount of square feet of that commercial non-residential space. And so it is trying to really live up to that spirit of mixed use, vertical mixed use, and have some of those unique areas that people can go, can walk to, and participate as part of this living environment that's going to be much different than we've seen before. Again, I talked a little bit about the commercial corner that we're working with Vestar to have that happen. That's about 12,000 to 13,000 square feet for the one building that fronts along Williamsfield, and then about 12,000 to 13,000 square feet for the building that fronts along Wrecker, and Vestar will be working on that project, hopefully that if we get this approved and we can get this moving forward. And that can be filled with restaurants and retail and other type of things that people can walk to very easily from this project as well as other projects, because we need the density to keep those things busy and profitable. Here's some elevations of what that commercial would look like as when we work with the town on the design review of what that project would look like, but very attractive appearance. This would be the appearance, I believe, along Wrecker, but very attractive type buildings with that second story windows and look, kind of give that feel, that streetscape that we've been going for with Cooley Station. So let's talk about what we've done. Keith pointed out that we did have neighborhood meetings, we did, but we also went door to door. We sent a neighborhood relations person, and we got 39 signatures of support of this project. So it's not just nobody knew about it or nobody. We went door to door to these neighbors, people who lived out in this area, to tell them about what we were. Susan Bittersmith did this, but went door to door and got 39 signatures. 39 people sent statements in support of this project. So we tried to go the extra mile. In addition to notices, in addition to the neighborhood meeting, we went door to door to talk to people, let them know what we're doing, because we really are excited about this project. We think this project, as Keith pointed out, is consistent with the Gateway Character Area, the Gateway Village Center Growth Area, the Vertical Overlay District. We think it's consistent with the long-term vision for what Cooley Station is supposed to be, consistent with the Cooley Station Master Plan. We think it's consistent with the expectations that the neighbors have had moving into this area, the vision that the town's had for this area. We have staff recommendation of support, and we have Planning Commission unanimous recommendation of support. We think we have a great project, the right project, that's built in the right location, that is going to add to the Cooley Station vision and will be an asset to the town that we're all going to look back on in a couple of years and go, that's a really cool project. I voted on that one. I like that project, and it's a really big asset to the town. And so that's why I'm here to urge your support of this project here tonight, so that they can move on to the next step and get this project to advance and be built eventually. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lake. Do we have any questions for Mr. Lake? This is your opportunity to ask him any questions. I would advise that you take that opportunity now. Councilmember Buckley?
Yeah, I just have a couple. So the open area on the roof, is that strictly, like could the residents have a band come up there and maybe play music or something like that, or is that strictly? I'm thinking, or,
I'm not, I don't know the rules and regulations. I doubt they're going to allow loud music. I don't know what the rules are.
Mr. Lake, that's
I'm saying
not.
this in a good way. I'm
Yeah.
saying it like.
There's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be parties and events and homeowner get-togethers up there. There might be some music up there. I don't envision a band type of thing, but I'm not saying it won't happen. Obviously, there's noise ordinances that they'd have to follow.
Right, of course.
But they're definitely going to have some events in there, and it's going to be a real cool place to go.
Right, and that's what I kind of wanted to confirm. I mean, it's, they could have a little party up there, do different things within the noise ordinance, and when music has to be shut
And there's
off
on-site management that if it gets out of control, they can shut it down.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, I love the rooftop things, obviously.
It's real exciting.
Yeah, and so when, well, that isn't up there yet, but when do you expect to start this project? When do you think it's going to be completed? What's the build-out time?
Mayor, council members, assuming the project, because I don't assume, assuming the project gets approved tonight, we will continue working with the planning staff on the design review and site plan and landscape plan process. And that could be many months until that ultimately gets approved. Then, once that's approved, the design, the landscape, the architecture, the site plan, landscape plan, all those things, once that's approved, then you go back to your architect and your engineer and you say, okay, go on construction drawings, both your civil plans for your off-site and your building plans for your on-site. And quite frankly, the way the market is right now, that's going to take a lot of months to do because they're so backlogged. Then once that's all done, then you submit it to the town and permit process. I don't know where you're at, Kyle. I'm guessing 4 to 6 months for permitting. Not that long. Shorter.
Sort of.
It's going to be a while, and then you got a construction phase. I'm guessing, Jerry, is at least a year.
John, we're going to buy the land in May.
Buy the land in May.
We're projecting that we will break ground, because we're going to spec the plans before we have DRB approval. We'll start on them. That's how we do it. We're targeting the end of the year, first next year.
End of the year, first of the year, trying to start breaking ground.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, obviously, I know, and I think the mayor started to mention, I think Gilbert has streamlined their permit processes and different things. But I'll have to look at my right notes and everything. I have had, obviously, my thoughts about all the apartments and everything. My big thing was where they're located. And if they're located, I have always felt, and as far as zoning, changing the zoning and everything, that, they should be located in the right place, which to me, these appear to be because they're surrounded in like properties, which is where it should be located. I really like this project, especially, and you didn't bring this up, but Mr. Kaplan, I think, wants that corner on Williamsfield to be a showcase. The bottom floor.
Yes.
He was saying how he wants to make that a showcase area in the town. So.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think that's it. Let me see. Okay, I'll ask you about the rooftop. Okay, I think that's about it, and I do really like this project for what Mr. Kaplan is also going to do for the community.
Yes.
So-
We also work with the police department as well. We talked about the discount, but we like to work to have a police officer live on site. And so we offer, and this is every project. This is not just the town of Gilbert. This is every city that we work in, that Kaplan works in. They have a unit so that they offer for free to the police department to have an officer live there, just in case. Just, they're off duty, they're not officially working there as a police officer, but if there's somebody being a little loud on the rooftop, they may be able to go up and calm that down, or in the pool area if they're getting a little crazy. But it's nice to have somebody there, and it's also nice to get back to the community.
Okay. I actually did have one other question. On the commercial parcel that's left, will you need to be requesting zoning changing on that? Because I believe that's already commercial, correct?
It is general commercial, but the zoning that Mayor, Council, the zoning that we are requesting does permit both the residential component and the commercial component, so the zoning allows both in this environment.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Bongiovanni?
Hi, Sean. You're killing me because I wanted my first change of zone to be a horrible case. But I really liked your presentation. The good news is I'm going to share with you what my expectations are for the next 4 years for change of zoning and projects. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have some general questions first, and I have some other questions, so we're going to be a few minutes. What is the average hold period history with Kaplan?
I don't know, but I can get an answer for you.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Okay. And you might have answered the other question. 612 apartments. How many residents do you believe will be in per apartment?
And it's, Sean, it's two projects, two separate leasing offices, so it's not one big project.
Kaplan views this as two projects because it's the L-shaped building and two separate leasing offices, and they're usually about 1.5 residents per unit.
Okay. And I'm really happy to hear when we first talked, you talked about having the police officer there because, with 1.5, let's say two, you're at 1,200 people and average is like 1,800 person per police officer. I'm really happy to hear that you thought about something like that. EV stations, any EV stations
Yes,
going to be there?
they do have EV stations.
Do you know about how many?
I'm told they're looking for 25%.
Great, because the average is 8%, so that's over
And that gets
above.
graduated as they build based upon, what the need is, because what you don't want to have is EV parking spaces that nobody parks in.
Gotcha. Okay, so I could tell a quick story. Socrates once said that if you want to be beautiful, you have to make beautiful choices. And I believe that Gilbert is beautiful, so we have to make beautiful choices. So let's just say the six of us here are parents of, let's call her Gilly. And Gilly reminds me of a girl in high school. We always had that one girl who was beautiful on the inside and beautiful on the outside. And everyone wanted to take her to prom. But she never said yes to the first person. The first gentleman came and asked her, and she waited and waited for the next suitor, the next one, the next one. And then she would take everyone that asked her and sit back and take a look at her prospects, and she'd think about a couple of things. One was they had to be cute, which is why I never took out that girl. And two, she knew that she was going to be taking this gentleman back home to her parents to meet her, to pick her up to go to the prom. So the values had to match. Whoever she chose had to match her parents' values and her personal values. So with that said, tell me how your project aligns with Gilbert's values.
First, let's talk about Kaplan. Kaplan aligns with Gilbert's values because they do first-class projects and they do things that nobody else does. They put into the internal water-saving water sense program that not a lot of people do that, both for saving water on the inside of the unit and then also in the landscaping. Those align with Gilbert's values. The quality of project that they're proposing is just not something, typically you have multifamily developers come in here and just want to build what everybody else has built. It's a proven thing. Then you have a few people that are willing to do something new and different and better and take that risk. And I think that's what Gilbert wants to see with multifamily projects, is something new and unique and different that hasn't been done, with a parking garage, with some of these amenities that we're talking about. So those are the type of values that I think Gilbert is looking for. And so bringing this project to the town parents, the 7 sitting up here, I say, I wouldn't call it Gilly, maybe we're calling this Gilly's boyfriend, Steve. I think Steve's pretty attractive, but I also think he's attractive on the inside because of the highly amenitized things and the things that are being offered with this project. Open space, parks, trails, amenities, all the things that we've kind of listed through on this project make this living environment a much higher quality than what we've traditionally seen in the town of Gilbert. That's why this suitor, in your analogy, I think is well worth a second look.
Okay, so this is where it gets a little uncomfortable. You made a great sport so far. Appreciate it.
Great.
Do you remember what the 4 values of Gilbert were when we first started our meeting today?
Pardon me?
Do you remember what the 4 values of Gilbert were when we started our meeting today? I'll help you out. Phone a friend.
Help me, I was on the phone with my wife, but
no
go ahead.
problem. So one of them is humble. So tell me how your project is humble.
I'm gonna step in for a second here because I think we're getting way out of line for what we're looking at for a zoning change. And
I want to make sure the project fits and aligns with Gilbert's values. So let me finish, please.
I think this project is humble in that they're willing to work with the community and give back to the community.
Okay. How is it bold?
It is a project that is designed and has features and characteristics in the design that currently aren't offered in the town.
Agree. How is it kind?
How is it kind? Mm-hmm. Because it is giving back to those people that give back to the community, both the school teachers, municipal employees, firemen, policemen, people who don't exactly get paid the highest in our community, but provide a great deal to this community that make us a better place to live.
Excellent. How's it driven? How is it driven?
How is it driven? Mm-hmm. Now you're going to stump me on the driven one?
No, I'm not. You've already said it.
It's driven is that they're trying to push the envelope here in an area in the right location to push the envelope to something that there's a lot of multifamily projects that currently are built in this area, but this is driving to the next level.
Thank you. So, Sean, you've been a really good sport. Appreciate your answers and
that's the first time I've ever been asked those 4 questions in 30 years of doing this. So
I want to make sure it aligns. Everyone make sure every project aligns with our values. So thank you, Sean. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kaprowski, thank you. Sorry, I'm tripping over my words now because I'm at a loss for what we just experienced.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lake. Appreciate the presentation. There are a lot of things I like about this project. I really like the water sense aspect of it, the fact that the parking garages are wrapped and at the same level. Really great to hear about the 25% EV charging, and also on the corner of Recker and Williams Field, that direct access for pedestrians or cyclists. I think those are really interesting and great concepts that are very appropriate for this location. I do have one concern that I think aligns with Councilmember Tilke, Vice Mayor Tilke's comment earlier in regards to the commercial area being developed near the same time as the rest of the property. How can you formalize the timeline on that part of the project?
Right now, we're working with Vestar to do it. So we have advanced that discussion with a retail developer. The reason we chose Vestar as opposed to Kaplan trying to do something, outside the box is because Vestar has the relationships with the types of specialty restaurants and users that typically only they get because they have those relationships. That's why we went to them. And how are we advancing? And I'm on a public TV, we're giving Vestar a really good deal. Really, really good deal to get into this site faster than what the market would typically permit. Because you don't see a lot of retail development going on in the market right now. And so what Kaplan, again, trying to do something bold here, is they're giving them such a good deal that would accelerate the timeline of which they could make something work at this site. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Are there any stipulations that formalize that, or are there any penalties if that commercial development is not built within a certain time frame?
No, there are not. I'll be honest with you, there are not. At some point, I mean, we are a market-driven economy and market development. Everything in the town has been driven by the market. But we're trying to subsidize that market, if you will, to accelerate that development. I can't force somebody to do something, but we can sure incentivize them to do it.
Vice Mayor, do you have anything?
Thank you. Mr. Lake, I'm not sure if this is for you or for Keith. Following along the same lines as Councilmember Kaprowski, this corner, based on the zoning request that you're asking, if that's approved, would you be able to come back and put multifamily in there without that retail component based on a decision we made tonight?
No. To come back and change that retail to pure multifamily would need the would need this council's permission, so we could not do that. Now, back to, and I apologize, Councilmember Tilke, we can give assurance to the town that the 51,000 square feet of non-residential, that pink area, will be built with the residential component. So it's not like just residential will be built and then Vestar is going to build commercial. There is commercial and non-residential being built as part of those residential components that Kaplan is building. So that there will be amenities and services and places for those people to go as well. That 51,000 square feet of the pink area that you saw on that plan. So that will be built with those phases, with those residential phases. And hopefully Vestar's right lockstep next to us.
Mr. Lake, is that why you didn't want to use the term third? Because it's very possible that these won't be built in a specific order, but very possible that they would be built at the same time. Am I correct?
Absolutely. You could have the first and then the Vestar and then the second. You could have the first, second, and Vestar. You could have Vestar going concurrently with the first. We don't know what those phases will be, but typically retailers and restaurant people, to use an old phrase of Dan Harkin's, you got to have butts in the seat, and we need butts in the seat, and the butts in the seat to make the retail and restaurants work are the people who live there. And so they don't want to go first. This is not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. They want to see the population base there. That's what this whole vision has been, and I can picture Linda Edwards standing here years ago saying we need to have the density. If we want this type of mixed use, if we want something unique or different, we have to have density. And she was championing the density and the type of things that Cooley Station was built upon. And so you get the patrons there, and then when there's enough population base, then you go to the movie theater, as Mr. Harkins used to say. So,
Any other questions for Mr. Lake at this time? Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Thank you.
Can I have a seat? Any questions for our staff? Keith? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the dais for discussion. Would anyone like to kick that discussion off? Don't be first, anybody.
I can be very simple. this meets the intent of the original Cooley Station master plan. I'm good with it.
Thank you, Councilmember Anderson. Any other comments from the council? Discussion?
I just want to say, I sat through a presentation with Mr. Lake and Mr. Kaplan, and I've seen more than what they've shown here, you know, with numbers and different things. And I like this project. I think the corner that they have planned with, is it Vestar? Yes, that's going to be fantastic for the community, not just for this particular, you know, apartments, but for the community in general to have a lot of different places, new places, and I'm hoping kind of an upscale restaurant in there somewhere. So I think that the location is, you know, what I like the best about this, because it's located with like properties, and that's, you know, what we need to see more of. But
Councilman Bongiovanni?
Thank you, Mayor. I like a project that can prove it aligns with Gilbert's values. And even on the hot seat, Sean did a great job doing that. And I hope developers in the future come to us with proving to us not only that it's a great project, but it aligns with our values. Thank you.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the comments that were given already on the council. I'll be watching for that corner to move forward. I appreciate you taking a proactive position and ensuring that happens, but I believe that you know, the credibility of the project really relies on that piece being finished as well. And so it's still very important to me, and just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Kaprowski, anything? No. So it was said that I probably have the most experience with Cooley Station, even maybe a little bit more than Councilmember Anderson, because he was done with planning and over at the Riparian when this really hit. And I think it was December of 2004, not that I want to be specific as to when Cooley Station passed, but I was there. This corner completely aligns with exactly what Cooley's intent was back in 2003, 2004, when we were talking about this project. The PAD mentioned by Keith in 2007, I remember that too, and then the recession hit. And so that never came to fruition. And then we went many, many years before Cooley Station actually started to move forward, and we saw some swaps in land uses. We wanted to swap this corner for that corner and that corner for this corner. And we've always worked very well with the Cooleys and the other families that are involved in the Cooley Station area, and we made those decisions along the way. This corner happened to be one of the ones that went from GVC to general commercial, and I agree with Mr. Lake, general commercial doesn't fit this corner. What general commercial could be is exactly what he stated, is a Home Depot with a couple of pads. And when we first started the discussions on Cooley Station, there weren't supposed to be any drive-throughs at all. But the Fry's Center, the Kroger Fry's Center, has allowed some drive-throughs in there, and we made those concessions along the way. That meant we also lowered the density of Cooley Station along the way and over the years, and with the changes that we've made to some of the projects, including Fred's Place that's going to be on the northeast corner of Rucker and Williamsfield. That has gone from 400 or 500 units to 90-something units. So we have lowered the density in situations when we can possibly lower the density. Do I like 612 apartments? No. But the GVC zoning calls out exactly what the density can be in this area. GVC can take up to 50 units per acre, 50 dwelling units per acre, which means it determines and decides how many units can be on that property. They're coming in at 46, somebody said. So we're under the 50. They're not asking to go over the 50. I think they're bringing us a really completely different looking project than what we've had offered in the town of Gilbert so far. I love the idea of the underground parking I know of one other location in Gilbert that we have underground parking so far, at the corner of Galveston and Williamsfield. It's not inexpensive to build underground parking, but they're doing so to make this project wrap in a very specific way to make this product better and unique and Gilbert, because we look for unique and interesting design. So I am all in favor of this project. I think that we've waited a very long time for Cooley Station to really come to fruition. I don't even mind the entrances and the ingress and egress off of Recker and Williamsfield, because I have been to the Verde corner, I can't tell you how many times recently. If you haven't been to the Decadent Macaron, I highly recommend it. Just putting in a plug, delicious. And I've used, I think, all of the entrances off of Williamsfield and Recker to enter that property. So very much needed in this case and in this situation. So I'm in favor of this project. If anybody would like to take a stab at a motion, it has to be two, one for the general plan and one for the zoning.
Mayor and council, I've got a proposed motion for that subsection B, the rezoning, to address Councilmember Buckley's concerns over that language that said not conforming.
findings
So
of
I've
fact.
got a draft. If someone is going to make a motion to approve the rezoning, I'll just bring this to you.
Thanks for that, Chris. Yes, the findings of fact were not what they should have been in the packet, and that was a great catch by the council member. And if anybody wants to make a motion, including the findings of fact by our town attorney this evening, correct? Does somebody want to see those before we? I would imagine it's the standard ones that approve the findings of fact versus the ones we saw.
Mayor, council, yes, I've just written, move to make the findings of fact, adopt an ordinance approving the rezoning with the following changes, removing not from finding of fact 1 and finding of fact 2. That's what the proposed motion would be.
Would someone like to make that motion as stated?
I'll make a motion as stated
Stated by,
by Town Attorney Payne.
Mayor Peterson, it's commission number, it's 1 and 4.
1 and 4,
One and 4.
yes, thank you.
1 and 4.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Keith.
Could
It's one,
you-
removing not from condition, findings of fact 1 and 4.
I'll still make a motion with that change.
do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Tilke, seconded by Councilmember Kaprowski. Please vote. That motion passes with a 6-0 vote. Thank you, everyone, for the good discussion and conversation. Congratulations to the applicant. Oh, sorry, that was just the one. That was the first. We have to do the second one. I even said it and I forgot. The next one, we have a motion for the second, we actually did the second one first because it was the findings. So now we need to do the approval of the general plan. We did them backwards. That's what got me. Can I have a motion for that? Does that make sense?
I'll move to approve item number 23, general plan GP 22-14.
A.
A.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Kaprowski, seconded by Councilmember Anderson. Please vote. And the motion passes with 6-0 vote. Congratulations. Thank you. Thanks for the presentation this evening.
I want to see a presentation by Ralph before he leaves.
I haven't seen a presentation by Ralph in a long time, probably at Planning Commission level. Now we'll move on to our administrative items, boards, commissions, and committees. Do I have any reports from council liaisons this evening? Vice Mayor?
Mayor, thank you very much. I just wanted to share some information. Our Community Engagement Task Force, we had the opportunity to do a survey with our student government students last week. And while the council will get a full report of all of that, learned something new. There truly is such a thing called bubble soccer, and they're really interested in Gilbert providing that service, so sending that out to the Parks and Rec people to take a look at, but I thought I would just share that information. Thank you.
They already do bubble soccer at Cactus Yards, from what I understand. So, any other reports from council liaisons? Yes, Councilmember Bongiovanni.
Parks and Rec is doing their survey for their master plan. And so if you haven't filled it out yet, please do at gilbertaz.gov /PR master plan.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I will move on to communications. Report from the town manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I want 3 for you tonight. I wanted to first start with the recognition we received by the Arizona Water Association. Our Integrated Water Resources Master Plan was selected as the 2023 Water System Project of the Year by that association. Great work by Jessica Marlowe, our Public Works Director, Lauren Hickson, our Water Resources Manager, as well as both of the Assistant Town Managers, Leah Reinheimer and Mary Goodman, that were involved in that effort. Next, I wanted to call note to an article that just came out today by the Phoenix Business Journals. Gilbert was recognized as one of the healthiest employers in the mid-sized companies size category. And Nathan Williams, our HR director, as well as Erica Brown, our wellness coordinator, great work on their behalf. And then lastly, I wanted to recognize the volunteers that you recognized at the beginning of the meeting for their contributions, and Melanie Dykstra, who helps promote and coordinate those opportunities across the town. Very proud of their effort. We couldn't do what we do without volunteers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Patrick. So true. And Melanie hates the recognition, but I'm glad you gave it to her. Any report from council on current events? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Just very quickly, I want to add on to Councilmember Torgerson's remarks at the last meeting regarding Public Works. I finished my second tour with them, and I got firsthand experience at chip sealing, street light maintenance up in the big bucket truck, bulk trash, and I actually got to pick up the trash with the front loader and put it in the garbage truck. It was a big day for me, and my brother's very proud of me, by the way, and all the other services that they provide. And I just, again, I just want to extend Councilmember Torgerson's comments that these are really our unsung heroes. You know, this work goes on day in and day out, and you never really see it or think about it, but it's always happening to keep our community safe and beautiful. And so I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for a great day and remind residents, since I got to pick up bulk trash, that you're only supposed to have 5 feet of bulk trash and that it needs to be in the street. So don't forget that I made sure my husband knew that when I got home, by the way. So anyway, it was a great tour and a great opportunity to see what we do behind the scenes. So thank you.
And you're afraid of heights, aren't you? I am. And you went up in that bucket truck? Yes. Good for you. Trying things that aren't the norm. I love that. That's the opportunity that you have. Any other comments from council members on current events? Okay, then I will share a few current events. The Gilbert Police Department is participating in a shred-a-thon on Thursday, April 12th at Pull and Save at 623 North Cooper Road from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Donations will be accepted for future community shredding events. You can bring up to 5 standard legal-sized boxes of documents for drop-off in secured bins. Paper will be transferred for shredding off-site at ASDD Document Destruction Secured Facility. I think it's a great asset for our community because these events, I have residents that will reach out to me and ask me when the next event is, so I wanted to make sure that I brought that up. We have the Memorial Day ceremony coming up on May 29th, 2023 from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here at Town Hall, 50 East Civic Center Drive. If you would like to attend that, the Vice Mayor will be in attendance. We will have a guest speaker. There will be a flag and wreath ceremony, battlefield cross, POW, MIA table, and the National Guard band. We're encouraging you to bring your own blankets or lawn chairs for seating. Last time I saw people bring the little pop-up tents too. That will be handy because it'll probably won't be warm out there, out here on the grass, and there's plenty of room to spread out. Having nothing else, I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, we do need a recess into executive session.
Sorry, I will recess this meeting because we're moving to executive session.
Can we take a vote, motion?
A motion, please. So can I get a motion to recess the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Torgerson, seconded by Vice Mayor. Do we vote?
We turned it off. Can we just do a voice vote? Sorry.
Yes. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Chevelle.
Okay, I caught most of those last motions in my notes, so I'll make sure to share. Yeah, especially since they changed the finding of fact to remove the no. So hopefully we'll get an updated document of that one.